What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now. The first round, they took cornerback Maxwell Harrison. Second round, defensive tackle TJ Sanders. Third round, Landon Jackson. Fourth round, Deon Walker. Fifth round, a pair of fifth-round selections, Jordan Hancock and Jackson Hawes. In the sixth round, we had two more picks, Dorian Strong and Chase Lunt. And then they rounded it out with Maryland wide receiver Caden Prather. PFF staff gave this one an A-, so high praise here for the Buffalo Bills. What do you give this draft?
Honestly, for me, I think this would be a solid A. I don't even really see a reason to give it an A- because I think Carolina is my favorite draft class in the league. I think Buffalo might be second, and I think it's just the mentality of them going, okay, look, we need to fix this defense. And I know their general manager, Brandon Beane, kind of got in a tussle with some radio hosts earlier in the week, and they were asking, why didn't you draft a wide receiver earlier? And he's like, listen, it's this defense. I have to fix this defense or we won't go anywhere. And I completely agree. And honestly, I love just about every pick they made. Maxwell Harrison, I wasn't entirely sure he would be a first-round guy. He kind of needed that scheme fit, a really heavy zone defense. I think he went to the right place. I think TJ Sanders gives you a lot as a pass rusher, especially rotationally early on. Landon Jackson was a great value in the third round. Deon Walker in the fourth might be a home run swing, but I think in the fourth round it's worthy of the swing that you're taking on his talent, considering especially what we saw in 2023. Jordan Hancock, Dorian Strong also in the secondary. Even offensively, I love Jackson Hawes at tight end as a third blocking tight end, especially with a team that really wants to have balance and run the football. I know a lot they go with 6 offensive linemen, but you could probably use Jackson Hawes in that role instead of a 6 offensive lineman, and then he gives you at least a little bit more as a receiver. So, Trev, I absolutely love this draft. This is one of my favorite draft classes. I think the Bills finally got it right with just going, you know what, throw talent at this defense, start throwing darts at this defense, because that's really where the gap is. I believe they were a bottom 5 lowest graded defense in the league last year, and that's the reason. Every time they get in big spots in the postseason, especially against Kansas City, they just can't make stops when they need to. So throwing this much talent at it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I like their approach in this draft. I would give it an A-, and I would give it an A- because when it came to them picking Maxwell Harrison at the back end of the first round, clearly they like Maxwell Harrison a lot, and Maxwell could be fantastic. I'm not saying that he can't. I would have rather had Trey Amos, Benjamin Morrison, Savon Ravel. Like those guys were all still on the board at that point in time. I know Revel, excuse me. I know that he was coming off the knee injury, so there's a little bit of a concern there. But I would have had those 3 guys over Maxwell Harrison, and so taking him over those corners at number 30, a little bit of a preference difference there. And then Deon Walker, 4th round is totally fine. Still quite a bit higher of where he was drafted versus where I had him on my big board. I probably would have preferred a different defensive tackle there at that point. But you can't teach the unique size and length that he has. So that's them making the bet on Deon Walker is totally fine. Now, when it comes to their other selections, love TJ Sanders in the spot. I already think the Buffalo Bills do a really great job putting all of their defensive linemen in one-gap attacking situations, whether it's Ed Oliver, whether it's Greg Rousseau, like whoever it is. They do a great job of putting these guys in situations where they're just attacking the pocket. And that's exactly what TJ Sanders does really, really well. I love the Landon Jackson addition too, because Landon Jackson to me just feels like a higher ceiling, more athletic version of what they wanted out of AJ Epinesa when they drafted him many years ago. And instead now you just sort of reset that with a rookie contract. So for Jackson to be there in the third, I thought that was an absolute steal for the Buffalo Bills. Jordan Hancock, I think, really goes in line to what they like from their safeties. These guys who could play not only on the back end, but also in the slot as well. Jordan Hancock played a lot in the slot for Ohio State. I think he brings you some long arms, some good length, some good size to being able to defend the slot and just be called that nickel defender. So I like that there. Jackson Hawes, depth at the tight end position, one of the best blocking tight ends that we have in the class. So I like a lot of that. And then, the clip of Brandon Beane, you're getting a little bowing up on the radio host, I should say, when he's sort of challenging them for not taking a wide receiver. I even like the wide receiver that they took. I like Caden Prather. There were times when I like Caden Prather better than Ty Felton, and Ty Felton was drafted a lot higher and was just regarded a lot higher around the NFL. But Prather, to me, is built more like an NFL wide receiver, and he at least gives you that plus size to be able to play on the line of scrimmage as an X. So I think the reason why I wouldn't give this one a straight A is just preference of, okay, I'd rather have a different defensive tackle than Deion Walker when they took him in the fourth, and I would have rather had a different corner from where they took Maxwell Harrison at the back of the first. But I love the strategy here. I love how they implemented what they wanted to out of this draft class and when they were on the clock. So I thought it was a great job by Brandon Beane.
No, for sure. I think this is just where they have to make up the gap, right, with Kansas City, and that's a team that's able to make stops. Baltimore, for the most part, is a team when they need to, they can make stops, right? So I think the Bills, if they can, even if they just have, call it an average defense with Josh Allen running the show offensively, they can win the whole thing at that point. So if they get even just that level of improvement from where they were last year, especially in coverage, I think this is a team we still look at as a prime Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly which defensive tackles were on the board. I remember there were a handful that I preferred to Deion Walker, but Ty Robinson, who was picked very shortly after Deion Walker, I had him ranked higher. C.J. West, certainly. Josh Farmer, sort of a toss-up there, but like Cam Jackson, another one who, like, if you wanted the length for what you wanted out of that player, I like Cam Jackson more than I like Deion Walker. So, again, just a handful of guys I would have rather had there, but a job well done by the Buffalo Bills once again.